Interesting enough, the first domes on Ob were built by electro-people from the planet Verton. They sent an expedition to Ob looking for omelian, a substance found on some organic-based planets that is used as rocket propellant. They built a series of domes and underground tunnels for their mining operations, but there wasn't much ornament in Ob, and when they ran out, they dismantled their domes and moved their mining operations elsewhere. They left one small dome and a small contingent of low levers to do the cleanup work. They had planned to come back for them in about 3 years. However, in the meantime, Verton was invaded by the Cleons and a 40-year war ensued. Eventually the Cleons were defeated, but not before the Vertons had lost their ability for interplanetary travel and communication. That left the Verties on Ob stranded. Before they could be rescued, the Vertons had to rebuild their planet infrastructure, which had been completely destroyed. Because they were unaware of the war that had taken place on their home planet, the Verties assumed they were to remain on Ob for some strategic reason. They had no way to leave the planet, and their communication equipment had long since stopped working. So they had no choice but to stay put and wait it out. They said nothing about their earlier mining operation when the Zimmnel Advanced War Dome exploration team arrived. They were afraid they might be giving away vital secrets. They did not object to or complain about the war dome that the Zimmnellians wanted to build, and even offered to work on the project in exchange for much-needed electro body parts and support equipment. The Zimmnellians just assumed that these Verties were a breakaway group of electro-people looking for a simple life on the small planet, organic planet, so they decided to put them to work. They were used, because of their knowledge of tunnel building, to help build a war dome connecting tunnels. After the dome was built, they were kept on to maintain the underground rail shuttle system. However, they were not allowed to commingle with other inhabitants of the dome. There was a fear that because they had been so isolated for so long, they may not understand the need for the Dome Patrol protocol about commingling with Homo sapiens. As the Flextons had the responsibility of ordering, storing, and distributing tunnel maintenance and shuttle supplies, the Zimmnel Patrol Command had to be careful about how this was handled. So as a precaution, when the domes were completed, the Verties were all vulcanized with Zimtex, electrobody covering, before the first contingent of Homo sapiens from Flexton arrived. The Verties were also confined to their small maintenance dome in order to keep a low profile when working in the tunnels or on the shuttles. They were also given special uniforms with numbers on them so they could be easily identified. They were in a sense treated like prisoners, but what could they do? They had no choice but to comply. Another small group of electro-people who were also closely watched by the God Force were the God Force believers from planet Pluton. After the War Dome was up and running with the full contingent of patrolmen and Fleckies, the Central for Galaxy Control allowed the Plutons to build a small religio dome on the first floor of Central Dome. The Plutons are missionaries hoping to convert the galaxy organic-bodied Homo sapiens, the Flextons in this case, to their God Force belief before the brains reach 2,500 centimeter size, which is a size when the brain is ready for transfer into the electrobody. They need to get them to understand and accept the life-energizing beam theory, or LEB, and that their bodies are only holding them back from obtaining true knowledge of the universe. Once they accept that, then it is just a matter of weaning them off the notion that God is an organic man with a beard and a white robe. Once they understand that God is the creator of the life force, they can accept the notion of electrobodies much easier. Of course, with a brain size of 25 centimeters, one is not easily fooled. The science and technology that goes into the electrobody process and the deep space travel it allows tends to make the notion of an all-seeing, all-knowing supreme being rather far-fetched. With so much life in the universe, with all its diversity and uniqueness, to think that one species or another is special or chosen by some unknown, unseen God is to stretch common sense well beyond its limit. But the universe has always had its zealots, and zealots will always be zealots, no matter how unreasonable their cause. The Plutons are believers, and as believers they feel it's their duty and obligation to convert the God-believing Homo sapiens to their God-force belief before they are seduced by science and technology. To help with this, they have universal vision teleview programs that run all day, all night, every day, every year. It broadcasts their God-force message constantly and can be picked up on teleview receivers throughout the dome complex. Most Flexies are bored with this program's constant preaching, so they seldom tune in. However, in spite of what some believe to be a boring, simplistic message, the Pluton God-force believers do have many followers in the galaxy, including some followers on Ob. They promote and support themselves through universal vision teleview programs and disc recordings of popular sermons which they sell by the millions in domes across the galaxy. As noted earlier, the Plutons and their God-force religiodomes are tolerated because they pose no real threat to the peace and stability of the galaxy. Electro-people have enough brain capacity to make rational judgments about the validity of God-force theory on their own without the Center for Galaxy Control dictating what or what not to believe. However, when they set up their religiodomes in a war dome complex, they are required to adhere to the compound's rules and regulations and obey the dome commander. They are also required to wear distinctive robes to distinguish themselves from the general population of Zimmnellians. It is important that everyone in the dome know at a glance who a God-force believer from Pluton is and who is from Zimmnel. For the most part, however, the Plutons stay within their dome and are content to do their preaching through a teleview broadcast.